Barakateh Hawa, Barakateh Hawashai, Barakateh Hawa, Barakateh Hawashai, Kal Halalamla, Yahweh, Bahashem Yahushai, Bahashem Rakakodash. Double honors to the apostles and the elders of Great Millstone. Salutations to the Akim what they're pushing this word in all sincerity and in all truth. Salutations also and peace and blessings to the elect, the rest of the 1/3, the men, women, and children whom the Lord has chosen to have mercy upon and has chosen to give the spirit of truth and has also chosen to receive the gift of mercy, the gift of grace through the sacrifice of our Lord, Hamashiach Yahushai. Alright, this lesson is going to be based upon an article that was posted today in the local news media here in Jamaica regarding relocation of persons. And on the surface, this may seem like something that's, simple, and it may seem also that as if it's something that's beneficial, to the community and to people in general, but we have to understand that there is a bigger agenda, behind these little actions that we see on the local level. We have to understand how, the devil works, how the so-called white man works. He offers you positive benefits, on the surface, but in reality, he's leading you into a trap, leading you into a situation where he's more in control, where more of your so-called rights and privileges are placed into his hand, and he's in more of a godlike state and have you in subjection, in perfect control and a perfect order. Right? That's what it's all about. So I'm going to just read this precept first. This is Habakkuk chapter 2, verse 1. I will stand upon my watch and set me upon the tower, and I will watch to see what he will say unto me and what I shall say when I am reproved. Right? So we watch the things that are happening in the news, in the geopolitical arena, in the economic arena, whatever it is, as long as it lines up, with prophecy, we push it, to give warning to those who are people who have the ear to hear, right, and who have the eyes to see this truth, and to see the warnings that are put out, by the prophets, by the watchmen, of Israel who are standing upon their watch and watching what's going on. And the Lord answered me and said, write the vision, make it plain upon tables, that he may run that readeth it. For the vision is yet for an appointed time, but at the end it shall speak and not lie. Though it tarry, wait for it, because it will surely come, it will not tarry. And know we are at the end of days, right? And we've seen prophecies pop off on a rapid. There are developments daily, so there's so much to bring out. But for this lesson, we're going to be focusing on this article that's posted in Loop, Jamaica. And it was posted, I believe it was posted today. Let me see if I can find the date. No, I can't find it. Yep, there we go. It was posted on Monday. So that's yesterday, November 16, 2020, Your Prophecy. And the title reads, Time to Relocate Some Vulnerable Communities, Wholeness, which is our Prime Minister here in Jamaica. It says, the time has come for a national debate on the likely relocation of residents from unplanned communities that often leave them at risk of flooding and other catastrophic events caused by natural disasters. Now, this may seem like a response. This may seem like a response to something that's currently unfolding, in our lives right now. We've experienced significant flooding, I think like 2 or 3 weekends in a row, and that flooding has pretty much damaged a lot of communities. People have lost their lives, people have lost their homes, people have lost water supply, electricity, all different type of things, and it was also kind of suspicious to note that these storms formed one behind the other right in the middle of the Caribbean basin, and pretty much caused extensive flooding here in Jamaica. And then conveniently, the government now comes out and says this, and I'm going to show you why I say it's conveniently coming out and saying this, because this plan that he has to relocate people from quote unquote unplanned communities is not a plan that is the brainchild of the Jamaican government, or that is the brainchild of Andrew Holness or his administration or the PNP administration before him. This is actually a goal that was set out in the United Nations 2030 Agenda Sustainable Development Goals, which we're going to get into, and we're going to see that even the wording is similar to the wording that the UN Sustainable Development Goals uses, right? So it says that debate should begin in the nation's parliament, according to the Prime Minister Andrew Holness. He made a statement while addressing the House of Representatives recently. With the devastation caused by recent weather systems, namely Tropical Storm Zeta, Tropical Storm Eta, which unleashed torrential rains over the entire island just over 2 weeks apart, images of flooded homes, some halfway filled with mud, some washed out roads and bridges, flattened crops, and lost livestock are still fresh. Right? He goes on to say a father and his daughter were also killed in Shooters Hill, St. Andrew, where their home was swept off a hillside during rains associated with Tropical Storm Zeta at the end of October. All right, there's a particular point here that I want to bring out. Where is it? Okay, here we go. All right, so this part of the article here, let me highlight it. All right, it says, I'm just sounding the alarm, the warning now that we cannot have some of these communities continuing to exist in these areas in the face of weather events that are projected to happen on a cyclical basis. It says where people live in Jamaica has to now become a focus of government attention. So now the government, is going to dictate where you can and cannot live. That's the idea, right? So it's not where you feel you want to go and live, and now he's being more explicit. So it's not where you feel you want to go and live. We have to build infrastructure that is defensible, that is resilient, which is a language that is adopted from the UN document, which I'll get to, right? We have to build infrastructure that is defensible, that is resilient, especially that word, that incorporates these eventualities of weather events. And then we have to build the planned communities around the infrastructure. Then we have to encourage people, many of them who are living in these unplanned communities, to transition to planned communities. So the idea is to dictate where you can and cannot live. The idea, right, ultimately at the end of the day is urbanization. Having more people live in city-like communities where you have very good access to the internet. You pretty much live near or in a smart area, so you can have access to the Internet of Things, so that you can be tracked, you can be regulated, you can be measured, right? If you live in some rural community in the middle of some bushy area, right, it's harder for the government to track you, it's harder for the government to regulate you. If you live in quote-unquote planned communities, right, urban communities, then you are on the grid, then you are trackable, you are traceable, then you are easily regulated by the government. That's the idea, right? So let's get the source of Andrew Holness's ideas and suggestions. So this is the United Nations website, sdgs.un.org. SDGs stands for Sustainable Development Goals. All right, and we are looking at Goal 11. Goal 11, notice the language, make cities and human settlements inclusive, safe, resilient, that same word that was used by Andrew Holness, and sustainable. All right, let's go down to the targets and indicators. By 2030, ensure access, this is 11.1, target 11.1, by 2030, ensure access for all to adequate, safe, affordable housing and basic servicing and upgrade slums. All right, 11.3, By 2030, enhance inclusive and sustainable urbanization and capacity for participatory, integrated, and sustainable human settlement planning and management in all countries. So these communities have to be what? Integrated, right? You can't be separated from the matrix, right? The whole idea is to have you in an area where you can be tracked, you can be regulated. You can't just live anywhere you want. That's what the Prime Minister is saying. We have to tell you where it's safe to live, right? We have to build resilient and defensible and sustainable settlements and have people live there, right? Let me jump down to 11.5. And this is also interesting. By 2030, significantly reduce the number of deaths, the number of people affected, and substantially decrease the direct economic losses relative to global gross domestic product caused by disasters, including water-related disasters such as the flooding that happened recently, with a focus on protecting the poor and people in vulnerable situations, which is exactly, the catalyst for what, the Prime Minister is saying here in this article, right? So none of this is his idea. None of this is his agenda. He's not coming out of, this is not a think tank or a brainchild of the Jamaican government or the Jamaican administration. This is dictated to them by the United Nations, right? And we're going to see the connection, more explicitly the connection between, the UN and Jamaica. All right, so this other website is ec.europa.edu.eu, sorry, right, which Europa is I believe it's a Greek goddess, if I'm not mistaken, or a Roman goddess, one of them, right? So this is the overview for goal 11. It says, so let me go down to the EU actions, right? So these are the EU actions supporting goal 11. Notice the first one, African, Caribbean and Pacific Cooperation. Second one, Caribbean Investment Facility. Right, so through these different agencies, the United Nations effectively promotes their goals in other countries, especially in the Caribbean. Right, so through the different agencies, through these UN development funds, EU development funds, whatever you want to call it, whatever agency they want to call it, right? It's all about establishing their own goals. And you might say, well, these seem like, good intentions, taking people from vulnerable areas and putting them into, more secure areas, more safe areas, more resilient and defensible areas, So it would seem altruistic in nature if you look at it on the surface. But the idea is not to be altruistic, right? The idea is to use the problem that now presents itself conveniently, I might add, which is the flooding, right? And use that crisis, never let it go to waste, and push your solution. And then your solution now will now put the people in a position where they are more trackable, more regulated, right? More accessible. They are integrated into the matrix properly, right? This is 2 Corinthians 2 verse 11. Lest Satan should get an advantage of us, for we are not ignorant of his devices. The idea at the end of the day is to have smart cities, smart communities, all are connected to the Internet of Things, so that everything and everyone, is on a grid. Right? You are pretty much a node on a digital grid that can be accessed, that can have data sent to it, that can have data read from it, where digital restrictions can be put on you easily. Right? This is the idea, right? To have you living in a smart city where we're regulating you is much easier, yo. We can't have you living in the middle of some rural area where you're unreachable. We have to pretty much use helicopter to try to get to you and all that sort of stuff. No, we want you to come closer. Come to these planned communities where you're safer, right? Psalm 55, verse 21. The words of his mouth were smoother than butter, but war was in his heart. His words were softer than oil, yet were they drawn swords. So yeah, they come, seeming all altruistic in nature. Yeah, we're doing this for your benefit. But at the end of the day, it's to have you all in smart cities, ultimately have you all chipped and connected to the Internet of Things, These are all little pawn moves, on a chessboard, ultimately to attain one particular goal. Have you all chipped, trackable, living in smart cities. That's the idea, right? Ecclesiastes 12 verse 10, never trust thine enemy, for like as iron rusteth, so is his wickedness, right? I want to jump down to verse 16. An enemy speaketh sweetly with his lips. Yeah, we've read the Sustainable Development Goals, right? It sounds altruistic. It sounds like they're being genuine, right? But is in his heart, he imagineth how to throw thee into a pit, into a trap. He will weep with his eyes, but if he find opportunity, he will not be satisfied with blood. Right? Just like this COVID-19 vaccine, right? We're doing this to help the poor people and right? But his agenda is insidious, right? And those who have the eyes to see it will see it. This is not meant, for the average man to see it. The average man won't see this. Those whom the Lord has given the spirit of truth will see it. Psalm 64 verse 1, hear my voice, O God, in my prayer, preserve my life from fear of the enemy. Hide me from the secret counsel of the wicked, from the insurrection of the workers of iniquity. Yeah, this is a secret counsel, The wording, the language that is used in the Sustainable Development Goals is we call it now, it's dual speak, double-tongued. Portraying an altruistic agenda on the front, when really and truly the agenda is insidious, and we call it now, right, and sinister, right, who wet their tongue like a sword and bend their bows to shoot their arrows, even bitter words that they may shoot in secret at the perfect. Suddenly do they shoot at him and fear not. They encourage themselves in an evil matter. They commune of laying snares, privily saying, who shall see them? Yeah, they don't expect people to see what's coming, But when the Father has revealed them to his prophets, who are in turn revealing them to the elect, to the members of the elect who are born to see this, who have been given the eyes to see it. They search out iniquities, they accomplish a diligent search. Both the inward thought of every one of them and the heart is deep. Yeah. Alright, hey, this is a very deep plan that these men have, We're going to wrap up with Psalm chapter 140. Deliver me, O Lord, from the evil man. Preserve me from the violent man which imagineth mischiefs in his heart. Continually are they gathered together for war. They have sharpened their tongue like a serpent. Right? Others' poison is under their lips. Keep me, O Lord, from the hands of the wicked. Preserve me from the violent man who have purpose to overthrow my goings. The proud have is a snare for me, and cords. They have spread a net by the wayside. They have set gins for me, Selah. All right, we jump down to verse 8. It says, grant not, O Lord, desires of the wicked, further not this wicked device lead, lest they exalt themselves, Selah. And the Heavenly Father is not going to allow them to completely accomplish their goal, All right, it says that in Job, All right, so we know that, the so-called white man is not going to completely, achieve his agenda, his utopia. All right, so that's pretty much what I wanted to bring out. I hope this lesson was edifying through the Spirit. For give me the Spirit to this lesson. Shalom.